Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC 268, Usman V Covington 2. Right before we start, I just want to say this is by far the most stressed I've been scoring cards. The most stressed. We'll get into it in a second, but I just felt there were a couple cards on here. There were a couple scorers on here. I felt fine, obviously, scoring the cards, scoring the fights. But into the later part of the main card, it was a lot very stressful. In particular, two fights. We'll get to them again. And it's not so that it was the fact that the fights were super technical. It's what I think was when both fighters are active and are going at a very high pace, it's genuinely hard to score that round. Or if two fighters are really technical and mixing in takedowns at unorthodox times that most fighters would usually do it at the end of the round or at the beginning of a round. It's a lot harder to score these. Overall, though, these fights were great, wonderful, very enjoyable, but I'm here to score, so number one important thing. The show is called Injustice For All MMA. There are no injustices at all. Now, before I came to record this, I was checking the judges' scorecards just to make sure, just to get ready to do this, and I had stumbled onto an article that said robbery in question mark. It was by SB Nation. Basically kind of touching on the Weili versus Rose fight and whether or not, someone got stiff there. I'm just going to give slight commentary real quick on that one. No one got robbed. Obviously, the right person won since there were no injustices, so you know who I scored it for. But one, that article's really weird in it, given that like at the end of the article, by the way, I just want to be a little objective here. At the end of the article, they did say that no one really drummed up any robbery claims. So it seems like a random article that just got confused by the fact that it was a split decision for a championship fight. When in fact, I wish there was that same article when Weili fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk, because I thought she won that fight. So there's that. That's just my sidebar on that one. But there are no injustices. And we go straight to the honorable mentions. And after I'm done with the regular honorable mentions, we'll go into why I said that these fights, a couple of them, were very, for me, I guess, maybe it was just the day. I won't even chalk it up to the day. They were hard to score for some reason. They were hard to score. So anyways, let's go into the regular honorable mentions. So first honorable mention is Jacobi versus Allan. I scored at 30-27, Jacobi. 30-27, easy. Dave Torelli had it 29-28. Michael Bell had it 29-28. And Doug Crosby had it 30-27, just like me. Honorable mention. I'm just laughing at this now because it's like I'm trying to not come off as a dickhead, innit? But hopefully it doesn't come off that way. If it does, then what are you going to do? Honorable mention to Dave Torelli and Mike Bell. I vehemently disagree that Jacobi lost that last round. It was closer on the feet in that third round, but Jacobi still outstruck Allan. So there, honorable mention there for those two judges. We go to the next honorable mention. And this honorable, I'm gonna, before I get to the my Geichi Chandler honorable mention, I'm gonna actually skip that and go to Edgar versus Vera. Okay. I gave Edgar the first 2 rounds right before he got knocked out in the third. And the judges Saul D'Amato had it the same. Dave Torelli and Eric Colon gave Chito Vera a 10-9 in the second round. Honorable mention to those two, because that's bad. I disagree with that 1,000%. In that second round, Edgar outstruck Vera on the feet and got a takedown with a little bit of ground and pound. It's most definitely his round. Most definitely his round. I'm surprised that was even on the scorecards. Really, really surprised I was on the scorecards. So honorable mention there for Torelli and Colon. Now, we get to the big part. Right? The reason I was talking at the start and all the nonsense. So, honorable mention. It was supposed to be honorable mention number 2, but I saved it for later. Honorable mention, technically number 2, but it's number 3. Gaethje versus Chandler. Now, I'm going to start off by saying this. I was feeling good. I was scoring the fights. I scored the card. And then I went back, and then I thought in my head, I just said, I don't feel confident. You see, when I don't feel confident in my scorecard, the process I do, the process I have is, there's 2 ways, right? If a round is close, like you can give it to either person, I put a close marker on it, right? And then I make my choice on who I thought won the round. Still confident in who I picked. When I'm not confident at all, meaning I'm kind of uneven about it, I kind of mark it, right? I still pick the person who I thought won, and then I mark it. So here's what I put. Put 30-27 Geichi. And in my head, as the fight progressed, I was thinking, oh man, I scored the first round wrong. I scored the first round wrong. 30-27. I'm going to read out the judges' scorecards. Saw the amount I had it 29-28, giving Chandler the first. Doug Crosby had it 30-27, just like me. And then Derek Clearly also had it just like Saul D'Amato. So in my head, I was thinking, oh, maybe it was close. Okay. So I stopped. I thought, I'm still not confident, right? I know this show is basically me disagreeing with the judges, but occasionally, if you go back into the archives, I will use the judges sometimes as like a barometer just to see if I'm wrong or not. You know, if you go back in the archives, there's many there's a couple, and you know, I'm being conservative right now, but there's a couple where I've scored some rounds wrong, I'm sure. But I just had to make sure, and just like in the archives, there's been many times if I wasn't sure, I go back and I rewatch it. A perfect example is the last time I remember going back and rewatching a fight to rescore just to make sure I had it right or to change it was I believe, I can't remember the Molly McCann fight, the last Molly McCann fight. In that event, I still told you my my initial scorecard and my scorecard after I watched it the second time. So I'm doing the same thing here. When I feel uneasy, I watch it again. And what do you look? And what do you know? My scorecard remains the same. In that first round, I was very... we don't have to talk about the second or the third round. That's fairly... No one concedes who those rounds belong to. In that first round, I was feeling as though I got a run because I felt, maybe Chandler won that round. No. I went back and I watched it. He was outstruck in that round. Despite him rocking Geichi, Geichi rocked him back also. When Geichi was when Geichi was rocked, Chandler was rocked. When Geichi was rocked, Chandler was rocked, and Geichi outstruck him still. I watched it again and I felt way more confident enough to say that I think I disagree 100% with Saul D'Amato and Derek Cleary, and think it's an honorable mention, but I disagree with their first round scorecards on that one. I'm glad I rewatched it the second time just to make sure. All right, next honorable mention, same situation. Now this fight pissed me off because there's 2 rounds here where I'm not confident when I finish my scorecard. So, real quick, back on the Geichi versus Chandler fight, I scored it initially 30-27 for Geichi. After rewatching it, it still remains a 30-27. Namajunas versus Weili. Initially, I scored it 50-45. Namajunas. Now, I looked at that scorecard and I said, no, I'm tweaking. If somebody turned this in, I'd be a laughing stock. This is bad. I'm a bad person, right? I was sweating. I was like, this is a disgusting scorecard. It's a bad scorecard. So what did I do? You know what I did. I went back. I had to go back. I saw 50-27 in that close of a fight. And when I say close of a fight, I don't mean overall this isn't one championship. I mean close of a fight, i.e. the rounds individually were close. In particular, only 2 rounds were close. I know. We keep saying the fight was close, but the fight wasn't close. It was, there was 2 rounds that were close that make the entire fight close on the scorecards. You get what I'm saying. In particular, round 1 and 3. Round 4, 5, and 2, 4, and 5, are the rounds definitively you can 100% say those are for Rose. So I'm gonna break those down just to make my case real quick. So initially I scored it 50-45. Okay, I gave 2 to Rose. Being it was close on the feet. Both got a takedown. I give the edge to Namajunas. There. That's for the second round. Okay, in the fourth round, Namajunas outstruck Weili. Weili got a takedown and then got reversed. Both were pretty active. That round definitely goes to Rose. Fifth round, that's self-explanatory. That's probably the clearest round. Okay. She got a takedown with ground and pound. Weili was active from the bottom. So round 2, 4, and 5 are 100% rounds you give to Weili, period. Rounds you give to Rose Namajunas, period. End of discussion. But remember, I scored it 50-45. So in my head, I'm thinking, this isn't right, this isn't correct. Went back and watched it. Watched the first round. Now, in the first round, what I wrote, was Namajunas outstruck Weili on the feet. Weili got a takedown with a little ground and pound. And I scored it for Namajunas. Went back and rewatched it. My description still stands. It's much closer than it seems. It's much closer. In fact, so close that you can give it to either person, actually. I still bend towards Namajunas, but you can give it to either person. So I wouldn't have been mad on the rewatch if a judge had given round 1 to Weili or Rose. So there's that. I rewatched it, still had the same score for round 1. I rewatched round 2, scored it wrong. Not round 2. Jesus, I'm tweaking right now. I rewatched round 3, scored it incorrect. I initially scored it a 10-9 for Namajunas. It's a 10-9 for Weili. Same with the description. The only difference here is when Weili got the takedown in round 3, it was enough. This takedown was enough to win her this round. Namajunas outstruck Weili, but it was barely. It was maybe a strike or a couple strikes, enough to where the takedown gave Weili the round. After that, I changed it, making my new score 49-46. Now I read the judges' scorecards. Okay. Eric Allan. It's madness. It's absolute madness. Eric Allan has it exactly like me. 49-46. Only difference is... Oh, by the way, third round, I also put a close marker. I probably shouldn't put a close marker. I'm changing that. I probably shouldn't put a close marker because Weili won that round, and I don't think you can actually give that. I don't think you can actually give that to Namajunas. So, Eric Allan gave the first round to Weili. Understandable. I think you can give that to either person. And gave the rest of the rounds to Rose. Like I said before, can't give 3 to Rose. Honorable mention there, but he has the right person. They all have the right person, except for Mike Bell. Doug Crosby, same thing. Except his scorecard is fine. You can kind of give one or... I just said... You can give... His scorecard says 48-47. Giving the first to Weili. Fine, you can give that to either person. And the third round he gave to Weili. Everything else to Rose. Mike Bell, on the other hand, gives the first 3 to Weili. Now, I definitely disagree with this. 100% disagree with this. 1 and 3, you can give to Weili, that's fine. The second, no, not at all. I think that's an honorable mention. So, in essence, let me wrap this on a bow. Honorable mention for all of us. Me initially, not for me giving the 50-45. It's for me scoring round 3 incorrectly. That was bad on my part. Really bad. Really bad. I shouldn't have scored it 50-45. It should have been 49-46. And I should have scored round 3 better. And that's the same for Eric Allan and just Eric Allan, really. All right. Last thing. Last final one. Last honorable mention. Usman versus Covington. I had a 49-46. I think this was very easy to score. Very easy to score. Super easy to score. 49-46. I'm surprised I saw 48-47. I really am. I'm surprised I saw 48-47. Derek clearly reflects my scorecard, which is the only round Colby won was the 4th round with a 10-9. Dave Torelli gave a 48-47, so did Saul D'Amato. With their scorecards are different. So let's start off with Saul D'Amato's. He gave a 10-9 to Usman in the first 2. And then in the third, he decides to give that to Colby. Now, in the third round, Usman outstruck Colby. So I'm off. I'm honorable mention there. Just terrible. So there's that. Now, Dave Torelli. I know some might want to argue that the last was close. It wasn't. Usman outstruck Colby in that last one. And he gave a 10-9 to Colby in the very last round. Dave Torelli did. Honorable mention there. And that's about it. That's all. These fights were close. Some of these rounds were very close. I was stressed. Not the championship, not the last fight, but Rose versus Weili. 1-3. Super close. That first that first round in Gaethje versus Chandler, not close, but initially when I watched it, I just wasn't confident in my scorecard that I had to go back and watch it again just to make sure I got it right. Just to make sure I got it right. I'm feeling stressed out right now, honestly. Just even looking at these scorecards. But other than that, thank you for listening. I still have a lot to go. I still have a long way to go in improving my scorecards tremendously, because if there's an entire fight night full of just close cards and close fights, oh Jesus Christ, we're gonna have a problem. And by we, I mean me, because these are getting woefully out of hand. I don't ever want to see, but I don't ever want to score another fight where it's a 3-round fight and all 3 rounds are, a Rose Weili fight where it's just kind of back and forth and there's a little bit of grappling and that kind of confuses you on who won the. I don't need any of that. I really don't. Other than that, thank you for listening, and God bless.